Our discussion today focuses on issues of intent, meaning sometimes we intend to do one thing and something else happened. In the time of Beit HaMikdash, it was a designation of offering a crucial part of the final stage of acceptance. What happened if someone designated one offering and it turns another? What happened if someone commit himself to a certain offering and then he is no longer among the living? What happened while they are in the process, the designation changed to a different notion? So this is part of our discussion today, page 73, 3 lines from the top of the page. Shchato shelo le'ochlav. The Mishnah said that if a person slaughtered the Paschal lamb on Shabbat for those who cannot eat it, so they said that he is liable. Remember, we have two different texts of Mishnayot. One is in the Talmud Ishchat in Hilchot Pesach, that we said that it's okay, but here they said Pshita, Kevan de'atam pasul haka chayav. So it's obvious, since we learn on page 61 that Pesach that was slaughtered not for the purpose of for people who are supposed to eat it, is chayav. We meaning, if you slaughter the Paschal lamb and the people there were ill, who are not capable to eat, who are ritually impure, etc. So here, if someone does it on Shabbat, for sure he should be liable because he has basically desecrated Shabbat. So why the Mishnah needs to tell us? So the Gemarrah said, Mishum Netana Sefer Patur Tana Reish Chayav. Since we said at the last clause that he is exempt, so we said Shelo Ochlav is exempt. So therefore, in the first part, we said that he is liable, even if it is not a chidush. So the Gemara said V'hana Pshita, but this also it's obvious because Mishum Da'atam Kasher Patur, because over there in Mishnah we said that if he is slaughtered for the purpose of those who eat, and then he incorporate those who are not. So he said it's okay. So here, if he does that on Shabbat, he's for sure exempt. So why Mishnah need to tell us? That's the first Mishnah in Zvachim. So they said that since the Tana in our Mishnah said that if he slaughtered not for the sake of this Korban, he is liable. So therefore they mentioned the second one. Why we need to say it as itself? So So they want to bring the disputation between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua, that if someone slaughtered other zvachim for the purpose of Pesach, the whole halachot involved with that, so therefore he preceded the opposite situation, that he slaughtered the Paschal lamb for the purpose of other offering, so everyone agreed that he is liable. So since we have this notion that if someone slaughtered on Pesach in the way that it's invalid, he needs to bring a sin offering. So we need to deal now with the whole idea of metaken. If you remember, we said earlier that if someone does some type of melacha on Shabbat, that it's involved with distractions, like it's called mekalkel, so it is exempt. Why? It's not melechet machshev, it doesn't involve with full intent, with full thought. So if someone does a chovel, which means damage purposely, or burn, so he said, Amar lei Ravuna bar Chinana livrei, ki azat lekamel Rab Zreika, we said on Shabbat that kol hamkalkalim pturim. So he said, when you come study before Rab Zreika, ba'e mina, ask him, livrei omer mekalkel b'chabura b'Shabbat. For one who said that who slaughtered Paschal lamb for those who cannot eat it is liable. So he said, for according to the opinion who says that one inflict a destructive wound, he is exempt, because if he caused a wound on Shabbat that has no constructive effect. So he said, one who slaughtered so if one slaughtered the Paschal lamb for those who cannot eat it, he is liable. What does he improve through the slaughter that he should be liable for doing prohibited labor? So the Maharsha have an issue why we don't deal with the first part, which is Shchato shlo lishmo, if he slaughtered not for the purpose of that korban anyway. So Bzeika respond, Tiken im alu lo yirdu. If he is improved, so it is that if the sacrificial part of the offering ascend to the top of the altar, they do not descend. Because the halacha is that the sacrificial part of the disqualified offering are inadvertently brought up on the top of the altar, so they don't need to remove it to burn on the altar. So basically what we said here, that it's considered tikkun, it's like repairing. So it's considering a desecration of Shabbat for doing this type of slaughtering. So the son of Ravuna continued to ask, he says, Shchato v'nimtza ba'al mum chayav, v'chima tiken, if he slaughtered and he turned to be a blemish, so he is liable to bring a sin offering. So what is the improve to the slaughter? It should be liable, because then is not any type of tikkun. So why he is liable? So he said tiken. Why? Bedukin sheba'ain. Here we talk about a situation that the animal have in the eyelid, which means if it was on the animal eyelid, and according to opinion of Rabbi Akiva, the Amar, this is Zvachim 84, im alu lo yirdu. He says, if the sacrificial part ascend to the top of the altar, not descend from the altar, because it is not a disgrace to the altar for the sacrificial part of such offering to be burned on it. Because again, it's an eyelid. So he continued to ask, he says, Shchato v'nimtza treifa baseter patur. So if, let's say, he slaughtered, and then it turned to be some part that it's not, it's a hidden condition that it's blemish.
Internal. Right.
For example, he have the intestine.
Right, if it's a little hole or, right.
So they said, if it's open, example, cut the legs, right? Mm-hmm. So, chayav, it's not an honest, he knows. Matiken, what will improve? Because if it's a treif, you cannot bring it on the altar. So if you bring those parts, you cannot burn it. So he said, lo tiken, leotzi midei nevela. He improved that he removed it from the category of an animal curse, which means that an animal that die on the natural causes or on the result of the improperly carry have been treated as an nevela, which is a primary source of ritual impurity, rendering those who touch they carry the ritual impurity. So proper slaughter of the animal prevented from falling into that category and imparting ritual impurity. If when we study that someone would take a sacrificial offering and slaughter it on Shabbat unwittingly, and he did it outside bachutz, outside of the courtyard, la avodah zara, for the idol, chayav aleh shalosh chataot. What is the shalosh chataot? Three sin offering. One, desecration of Shabbat. Second one, the prohibition against slaughtering outside of the Beit HaMikdash. Third, it's the avodah zara, the idol worshipping. So if he does it intentionally, it's a karet. But here is only shogeg. So it's more in Chulin 40, dealing why we're using the term chatat. Anyway, so they ask, matiken, what did he improve? So why he's liable for desecration of Shabbat? Because it's a mekalkel b'chavra. אז אמר אבירה שמוציאו עבר מן החי. That it's a category of limbs from a living animal. So a living animal, it's even for the Bnei Noach, for non-Jews, they are forbidden to eat. It's part of the 7 universal Noachite laws. So therefore, by slaughtering it, he make it available for eating for the non-Jews. Then the Mishnah said, Shchato v'nodah. So they said, Shchato lefi tumo. And then he realized that he cannot slaughter it. For example, if the owner passed, or if the owner became ritually impure. So they said, it's exempt. אומר רב הונא אמר רב, אשם שניתק לראייה ושרתו סתם כאשר לא עולה. He said that if you have a guilt offering that the owner passed, or they atone for one of something that it cannot be offering, so they said, you know what you do with that animal? You cannot sacrifice it, so you have to be quote-unquote a shepherd, which means you carry that animal until the animal naturally die, because you cannot use it for any offering anymore. So now, imagine a situation that the guy has no patience whatsoever. So if you have no patience, so what did he do? He slaughtered that animal without thought. So again, any offering, there is a halacha leMoshe Sinai. We have this tradition that any sin offering, guilt offering that the owner passed, or they atone from other ways, that animal cannot be used anymore. So you leave it with all the others animals until the pass. So now, whenever the animal has a blemish, you can redeem that animal and you take the money. It was, if you remember, we studied it several times, that it was, we studied in Gemarrah 23, that it was in Beit HaMikdash 6 shofarot. Remember the 6 large, for better term, pushkis. And they put there the money that they redeem those animals, and they use it for what's called kaitz hamizbeach. That it means that it's a public need of offering that used for public, and they use it as the same as they use in Gemarrah the word fig, which is like the dessert, whatever they need for the public offering. So he said, Alma kasavar lo ba'akiraf. From this point, we understand that Rav Huna, name of Rab, hold that this guilt offering, since his money that was redeemed from that offering is going to be a burn offering, olah, you don't need to uproot it from him the title of a guilt offering and bring it for the burn offering, but naturally it becomes for the purpose of the burnt offering. So the Gemarrah asks, Hache ki lo nitak nami. So if that's the case, that guilt offering doesn't need to uproot it, so why Rav said that that it's okay to bring as a burn offering? So he said, Gzera lachar kapara adu lifnei kapara. This is a rabbinic decree that said that people may misleading and understand that if sometimes it switch offering from asham to olah, from guilt offering to burn offering, and only so in order to avoid this misleading, and here it's the only time that it kapru be'acher, that go elsewhere. So therefore, in order to avoid this mistake, so we make this rule, Munat Teima. How do you know it? So there, now we're going to zoom in to Gemarrah in Tractate Tmura. The Gemarrah said in Tmura, page 20, if you have a guilt offering that the owner passed, or the owner already atoned for different offering, so that one, as we said earlier, you're going and leave it out until it finds some natural blemish, and then you sell it. You take the money and you switch it for public offering for Kaitz HaMizbeach. So here we have a Rashi. Rashi said that it's a 6 shofarot that he used in a temple, and that money to make nitvot tzibur, the public offering. And that's the first opinion. The second opinion, Rabbi Eliezer, Omer Yamud. Rabbi Eliezer said that there's no redemption for that guilt offering, and therefore it deserves just to wait when it's passed and you cannot use it anymore. Use the pasuk kachatat ka'asham. So anyway, Rabbi Yoshua said, Yir'eh yimacher v'yavi b'nemav olav. Sell it and take the money and make it a burn offering. Why? Because he said that you can use it for Kaitz HaMizbeach. The owner of that sin guilt offering substitute it for voluntarily burn offering as individual. Just sell it and switch it. Bedamav ein begufo, aval begufo lo. in the money that you redeem this sin of this guilt offering that become blemish, you can bring a burnt offering, but the body itself you cannot. Why? So as we said, that the moment that it's already changed status, you cannot use it. So in other words, the same way as to use it after the atonement, use it after, before the atonement, Shema Mina. So that's the way we understand the final point of the Mishnah. Since we learned previously that any guilt offering that the owner passed or redeemed by other sources, it doesn't need to have any atonement anymore. So we now derive to other offering, which is he slaughtered, and now he realized that the owner passed, or the owner became impure. So what happened is, while he slaughtered originally, it wasn't their consent. Later, what happened. 73b. So we learn on this Mishnah, on the different Braita on that Mishnah, they said this as long as it happened during the week. If it happened during the week, then you can use it. You can, let's say if the eve of Passover occurred during the weekday, so you slaughter a Paschal lamb, and then it turns that the owner, for some reason, as we said earlier, is no longer involved, he's dead or is impure. So he said you have like all the other offering that it's disqualified, you burn it. So since it's during the week, you can do it. So now we try to bring from here a source that if you need akira or not. If you tell me that this Pesach, Pesach בכוון לבעלים אבל לפסולו בגופו. עמדו לאח ישרף מיד. אלא היא אמרת לו, בהכירה מראי של אבל לשלמים, פסולו משום מאי. Imagine, if you take a offering, you substitute, let's say that offering worth, for the sake of understanding, let's say $500. And now you take the money and you switch the coin to different values. As you know, every single day the dollars can go up or down in their value. Now we know, for example, nowadays we have a situation that United States printing a mass of dollars every single day, and as a result, in a general market, the dollar can go way high, sky high, and way low down. So therefore, they said, what is the reason that it disqualified here? They said, mishum davar acher. There is a פסול צדדי, it's a different reason why it's invalid. Because he did it after the afternoon of daily offering, which is in addition to a Paschal lamb. And you have here, not within the Korban itself, which it's called psul tzaddi, a different reason for the disqualification. Ibur tzura bay. So it means by waiting this period, it changed the status of that meat. So in other words, we need to wait a full night, and you don't burn it immediately. The Tanya is actual kol she'psulo begufo, any offering that they have disqualification within the body itself, yisaref miyad, you should burn immediately. But dam uva be'alim, for example, if the blood spilled or the owner passed or became impure, te'ubar tzurato v'yetza lebeit srefa. So here, just a side note, Rabbeinu Hanan said, יישאר ימים עד שיביש ולא יישאר עליו אדמומית, אלא תעשה צורתו כאין ירקרוקת ויצא לבית שרפה. In other words, you wait for the change of the looking of the status of that meat, and then you can use it. בפירוש המשנות לרמב"ם said the same thing, אלא לו טעימה. שחטו שם סתם כשר לשום עולה, אלא אם השחטו לשום עולה כשר, על מבאי העקירה, it means that you need to uproot it. ולרב חייא בר גנדא דאמר, as we said earlier in 64, נזרקה מפי חבורה, which means that the group of sailors agreed to one thing. So he said, דאמר כגון שהיו בעלים טמאים מתים. For example, the owner became ritually impure by touching the corpse, ונדחים לפסח שני, they postponed to the second chance of Passover. Hi, who the בעיקר, this particular offering is ready for the Pesach Sheni. Habe'alma lo ba'akira. Other Paschal lamb it doesn't need to have the akira because he's designated for shlamim. what do you learn? So Rashi is a klomar, and in my book ביאורה klomar Rashi explain it. I don't have time to go there. אלא אמר רב הונא ברי דרב יהושע חמה עסקינן כל שהפרישו קודם חצות, which means he put it aside for purpose of Pesach before the chatzot of the 14th of Nisan, ומתו בעלים אחר חצות, and the owner passed after the middle of the day. דאבה לנראה ונדחה. Originally it was befitting for Pesach, and then it changed the sale. So there is a rule in the principle in Kodashim that if the animal was ready for offering and then it changed its status, so it became invalid forever. So even that cause change, already the status of that animal changed. So they said, so Rashi explained that this principle of nidche applies solely with this offering that was originally fine and then it changed. But if originally was not befitting and now became befitting, so you don't apply to this idea of dichui. This is a Gemarrah in Zvachim 59. Anyway, so the Gemarrah asks, Midu l'tavai l'Rav. Rav said himself in Yoma 64, Ba'alei Chayim enam nidchim. Rav said that living creature cannot be permanently rejected. So the halacha of rejection applies only to animals that are already slaughtered, but living creatures cannot be permanently rejected from their sanctified status or eligibility for a mitzvah. אלא אמר רב פאפא, המאני רבי אליעזר אמר, וכן השוחט אחרים בשם פסח, if he slaughtered, he took a paschal lamb and the owner passed, and the owner said originally that it's for the purpose of paschal lamb, so since it changed the status, so it became a shlamim, peace offering by itself. The havalet psulo begufo, that it means that this disqualification is in the body of the offering itself, so it shall be burned immediately. So if that's right to go by Rabbi Eliezer, so if he slaughtered this paschal lamb that the owner passed on Shabbat, so he needs to bring a sin offering directly to Rabbi Eliezer to b'dvar mitzvah batu. Remember when we discussed earlier that if someone make a mistake in regard to a mitzvah is exempt from bringing a sin offering, this explained in Mash, therefore to be rejected. This brother to whom is say go by Yosef ben Chonai. The Tanya, this is Mishnah in the beginning of Zvachim. Yosef ben Chonai Omer, offering hanishchatim l'shem Pesach u'l'shem chatat psulim. He said any offering that are slaughtered for the purpose of paschal offering or for the purpose of sin offering are disqualified. Now, he disagreed with Rabbi Eliezer. So they said, Alma psulo begufoi. So disqualification is in the body of the offering itself. That's the reason why it should be burned immediately. Even Yosef ben Chonai hold the same as Rabbi Eliezer in someone's slaughter offering for the purpose of Passover. In regards to someone who is exempt for Dvar Mitzvah, he holds the same as Rabbi Yoshua, that someone who is involved with Dvar Mitzvah is exempt from sin offering. So therefore we learn that if someone slaughtered the Paschal lamb on Shabbat and you realize that the owner passed, he is exempt from sin offering. Rav Ashi Amar, Rav דאמר רבי ישמעאל בנו של רבי יוחנן בן ברוקה, דתניא רבי ישמעאל בנו של רבי יוחנן בן ברוקה אומר, אם יש שהות ביום, if there is a time while it was slaughtered, it's enough time during the day, לידה ימשכו בעלים ידיהם, או שבית שנטמעו חייב, we need to bring a sin offering, ותעובר צורתו, which means you wait to this offering until the following day, ויוצא לבית השרפה, you should not burn immediately. מה איתמה? What's the reason? למה משום דלא בעיה עקירה? For sure it's not, because this offering needs to have uprooting for the sake of peace offering, but become a peace offering by itself. ממאי? Well, how do you know it? דילמה משום דסבר לקטנות בעבר אבא ברבוע, דאמר אפילו פיגול. He said that even pigul, an offering that disqualified for improper intent, which is considered an inherited disqualification, Namebae ibur tzura also require decay form. So he said the alif avon avon minotar. We derive a analogy between the two times they said in Leviticus 7 the word avon, which is iniquity. So he said an offering disqualified by improper intent, as the word iniquity repeat twice. We derive this analogy minotar with regard to a leftover sacrificial meal. So, which means that even the opinion of Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Rabbi Yochanan ben Brocha, that they require this ibur tzura, and he said, if you tell me not holding that way, so if the owner become ritually impure, what is there to say? You have to say that it's clear, certainly require uprooting. לאמר רבי חייא בר גמדא, נזרקה מפי חבורה. He said, if it was thrown out from a group of scholars who were studying that issue, so uprooting is required in a case, כגון שהוא בעלים טמאי מת ונדחו לפסח שני. The owner became ritually pure by touching the corpse, and therefore we postponed it to the second Pesach, month later. So therefore the Gemarrah concluded, that we have to go by the original way, which is Yosef ben Chonai. You go by Yosef ben Chonai, so on weekday an offering is burned immediately, and on Shabbat the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua will follow. One does not become liable to bring a sin offering. Hadran alach elu dvarim. First halacha, it's Rambam, Sefer Korbanot Ilchot Gagot, chapter 2. Shchato v'nimtza trefa. If one slaughtered a Paschal lamb on Shabbat and it was found that having an externally viable condition that will cause to die within 12 months, so it's considered trefa, he is liable to bring a sin offering because he should have examined the animal beforehand. Asham shemetu be'alav or shenitkapu be'alav, a guilt offering whose owner have died or achieved atonement through a different offering is left to graze until it's developed a blemish. As we said, we leave that out. If then it is then sold and the proceeds are used to purchase a free will burnt offering, that's Rambam Ilchot Psulei HaMikdashim, chapter 4. The last halacha of this perek, Shchato l'shum ola kasher. That's a Rambam, Sefer Avodah Ilchot Psulei HaMikdashim, chapter 4, Seif 5. He said if a guilt offering was consigned to grazing and was slaughtered as a burnt offering, it is valid. However, if it is not offered as a burnt offering, lechatchila, due to the decree, lest some guilt offering be offered as burnt offering, even before the owners have achieved atonement. Hadran alach elu dvarim.